Greetings everybody, Draco here, and I watched Nimona on Netflix. In case you aren't aware, Nimona is a movie about a rogue knight trying to prove his innocence and a mysterious shapeshifter trying to help him, with its main messages being don't judge a book by its cover and don't accept anything at face value. Now, I have some issues with this movie, and what I'm about to say might sound a bit harsh, and I will admit that I had high expectations for this movie, but it was mainly because I repeatedly make the mistake of thinking that if I like the art and animation of a film, that it means that the plot will be great, which once again was an error on my behalf. Now, my main issues with the movie are how sometimes it makes no sense and how one of its characters is very counteractive to the messages I mentioned earlier. In this case, it is the character Nimona that ironically preaches for those messages I mentioned earlier. She literally acts exactly as you will expect her to act based on her appearance alone, and constantly deflects or scolds Palliser, which is the rogue knight by the way, whenever he questions her about anything that involves herself and her past. And yes, I get that Nimona had her reasons to be secretive, but considering the messages of the movie and what she's constantly preaching about, it doesn't quite make sense for her to be this way. So for me, it just felt like she was very hypocritical, and the movie itself was hypocritical, and also made this character Nimona unlikable, not to mention annoying. There is also the fact that many of the conflicts of the story solely happen because the characters are idiots. For example, the fact that nobody questions why would anyone want to murder the queen. Based on what the movie shows us, everyone seems to genuinely love her and mourn her when she's after her murder, right? Literally, there isn't even one mention of an extremist group that hated the queen / the monarchy, or that the kingdom has enemies that will attempt something like this. So it just comes across as the conflict happened because it had to, instead of for it making sense within the context of the story. There is also how the knights rejecting commoners makes no sense, as there isn't any type of unique skill or attribute that the royalty possesses that will make them uniquely capable of being knights. I mean, Palliser literally proves this by outshining every other knight. Hell, if we follow the logic of royalty being the 1% of any kingdom, country, etc., and the fact that the knights act as law enforcement in this kingdom, it would make much more sense that anyone could be a knight. Otherwise, we run into the issue of that because the size of the kingdom, the knights will be mainly constituted of purely incestual abominations, since they don't accept commoners, right? Or that royalty can marry commoners, which will just mean that there wouldn't be limitations based on social status or blood purity, meaning there wouldn't be a reason to reject Palliser to begin with. Hell, I don't even know why knights exist to begin with. The idea was that they were formed thousands of years ago because of some lurking evil, but A, we later found out that the first golden lion wasn't anything special or had some unique power that allowed her to fight Nimona, and B, by the time the movie takes place, nobody even knows why they were originally fighting for. And like I said before, it's not like the knights that are royalty have some unique skill or power that uncovers or detects Nimona. So overall, it makes it seem like the only reason they reject commoners is just so Palliser can try to join them, but not because it makes sense within this world. Also, remember, it is the queen that allows Palliser to become a knight, the one that rules over the kingdom, so it just seems odd that someone like her will hold this purity policy at all. So it just makes less sense that, commoners are not allowed to be knights. There is also the fact that after everything Golden Lion made Palliser go through, they still ended up together. When they were introduced, it seems like they've been fighting prejudice for a while, and that after all they went through, they stuck together for good. And this is excusing the fact that Ambrosius, Golden Lion, however you want to refer to him as, cut Palliser's arm off. Golden Lion still didn't give the benefit of the doubt or tried to find evidence of his supposed plan to kill the queen, or even tried to prove his innocence. If you ever heard that someone you loved was a criminal or did something horrible, You will doubt that information, even if the evidence is damning. If you truly love someone, you will still give them the benefit of the doubt. And even though Ambrosius showed some doubt throughout the movie, he still did nothing besides letting Ballister go one time in the whole movie. And the argument of he trusted them too much in the night system can't even be made, since if that was the case, he wouldn't be with a commoner to begin with. Like, they can have them fighting the social norms by being together in a form of defiance to the status quo, and then make one of them immediately give up on the other. It just made it seem like Ambrosius didn't really care or trusted Ballister to begin with, which made them ending up together unrealistic given the circumstances. Now, just to summarize my other complaints, there is the fact that all the characters seem shallow, like the bad guys are just bad for bad's sake, the good ones are just good for good sake. Literally, the two main characters don't have anything unique or interesting about them. Ballister wants to be a knight just because, and Nimona wants to wreck shit up because people are mean to her. Generally speaking, just two-dimensional without much thought put into it. Another one is that the knights are ridiculously mediocre at their job. Like, not only were they unable to catch two mofos or even do an ounce of investigation, but it seems like Nimona, that literally has zero self-control and probably was shape-shifting around without a care, wasn't even detected until she joined Ballister. There is also the fact that Ballister, that is supposed to be this incredibly capable and intelligent knight, to the point that he can just create a mechanical prosthetic with ease, never does anything extraordinary. So they tell us how great he is, but they don't show us in any way, shape, or form. There is also the squire that literally could have proven Ballister's innocence at the very start, or at least showed that there was more to the queen's murder. But not only does he do nothing, he literally lets Ballister become public enemy number one, like basically the real villain of the movie. Also, what is Nimona? Like, we literally have this immortal, invulnerable, shape-shifting creature that doesn't seem to have any weaknesses, and we get no explanation for her besides the fact that she exists. Like, I always hate when people say, like, we should fear Superman because no one could stop him if he ever went rogue, but at least he has weaknesses. Nimona literally cannot only be stabbed through the chest without an issue, but also get nuked and survive. Not to mention that she can literally transform into anything. Like, at one point, she transformed into an imaginary dragon that breeds cereal. Plus, being able to completely copy people with little effort. She could easily turn into a virus and kill everyone, or topple the entire kingdom, or just take over it if she wanted. Not saying she should be killed on sight, but there should be countermeasures if they even exist. Also, side note here, she literally proves the director right when, while throwing a tantrum, she almost demolishes the entire kingdom. All that being said, I'll give this story the benefit of the doubt, since after I watched it, I learned that this movie got delayed and passed around from one company to the next, and it also was an adaptation of a graphic novel, so maybe some of its issues were caused because of a poor adaptation and the mishandling of the story, and not because the story itself was bad. In conclusion, this is an average movie, a mindless watch. Perfect to put as a background noise while doing something else, or watch when you literally have nothing else to watch. It isn't groundbreaking or thought-provoking, but it also isn't unbearable or unwatchable. It's just a very bland movie. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, share your thoughts in the comments, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.